All right, fight fans, it's time for the Ak and Eddie show once again. No Barack, Hearn Unleashed, Mr. Eddie Hearn. Welcome to the show, Eddie.
I'm a bit worried about Barack, you know, like
yeah, so
we seem to have these heated debates and he's dropped off lately, you know?
I think you've intimidated him. I think he's scared. I don't know, Barack, you better come back. Listen, Eddie, so much to talk about. First thing I want to touch on is Lomachenko's performance against Jermaine Ortiz. Hopefully you were able to watch that and your buddy Devin was in attendance. Now, once upon a time, Eddie, Vasily Lomachenko was somewhat of a boogeyman. This guy that was so skilled, he could turn, he can spin, he can hit you from every angle. Devin wanted him even back then. After that performance, and yeah, he was rusty, year off. Jermaine is a young athletic kid. Does Loma have a shot against Devin now, I would say?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen the fight, but, you know, I know that it was a very close fight, particularly through sort of 9-10 rounds. And I just think, listen, it could be a mixture of a lot of things. You know, could be a little bit of ring rust, could be a little bit of lack of motivation in a fight like that. Could be the fact that he's had 400 amateur fights, you know, surgery, getting old a little bit, and could be great timing for Devin. I mean, I don't see, like, I make Devin a massive favourite in that fight right now. You know, I always believed that Devin could beat him, but back then, Devin was a little bit unproven. Loma was flying. But I just feel like with Devin's momentum, with his size as a lightweight, with that performance, I just make him a favourite now to beat Lomachenko. But, you know, great fighters turn it on at the right times, you know, and you go back to almost Katie Taylor where, you know, before the Serrano fight, she had a couple of okay performances in mandatories and it was like, puts in the performance of her career. So I would expect a much better Lomachenko in an undisputed fight, but I would make Devin Haney the favourite.
I would agree with you, but I was talking to Shakur Stevenson recently about this, and the fact that Loma will be 35 in February, then we start going into that territory where these young fighters, if they do go on and beat a Lomachenko, will start receiving that, he's old, he's past his prime, and not the credit they, get the credit they deserve. And it's unfair if that would have happened. Now, do you think that would be the next fight?
Yeah, I think the difficulty now for all these things is the money that the fighters have got to be paid. You know, Devin's on a huge payday for Lomachenko. And also, with the problem is with that performance at the weekend, people now think it's not a great fight. They think it's more of a one-sided fight, which it's not. You know, it is a really good fight. But, you know, it's just hard to pay those guys that kind of money when, you know, you're probably not, I don't think it's a pay-per-view fight. So how do you pay the kind of money those guys need? So, you know, if I'm Devin Haney, I'm looking more at a Ryan Garcia fight, a Gervonta Davis fight. I think they're more exciting than a Lomachenko fight, but it's still a great fight for the division. And obviously, I don't know his contractual situations, but I'm sure part of getting the opportunity to fight Kambosos was to fight a top-ranked guy. And obviously, Aaron will be pushing Lomachenko to fight Haney next.
And I think that's the part of boxing that the general public and the fans don't understand when they complain about big fights not happening. There's an aspect of, does it have the demand in order to pay the fighters what they want? That's the barrier.
And that's what I said recently with Spence Crawford. You know, I've got criticism for that fight, but you've got to understand, like, if the money was there, the fight gets made.
Right.
So, you know, and Haney Lomachenko is not that big a fight. Haney against Ryan Garcia, that's a much bigger fight. Haney against Tank, much bigger fight.
Speaking
but not,
of Tank,
I feel, against Lomachenko.
Speaking of Tank, he's gone on in the last few weeks publicly and said that he's not signed to anybody. He's not signed to anybody and kind of complaining. He's done this in the past, but recently complaining about his promotional company indirectly. Has there been a play with Matchroom to maybe do a deal or a fight or a multi-fight deal with Gervonta Davis?
No, I mean, we received a legal letter a while back from Mayweather Promotions saying that he was under contract. It doesn't sound like he is. You know, he doesn't have many fond words to say about Mayweather Promotions. And of course, we would love to bring him to the Matchroom team. You know, it sounds like there's a fight being negotiated in some way with Ryan Garcia and Showtime and DAZN or both, I don't know. But, you know, I rate Tank Davis as one of the biggest stars in the sport. So if he was a free agent, we'd definitely love to have that conversation.
You also mentioned Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. Obviously, Terrence has gone another direction. He felt like the deal that they was offering was unjust, and a new company called BLK Prime offered him 10 mil, I guess, possibly to take a loss, in money to fight Abanesan. Now, what advice would you give this new company, Eddie? And I know when you came in America, you weren't a new promoter. Obviously, you're very successful in the UK. But what would be their best approach to this event?
Well, I mean, look, when you come in your BLK Prime, I mean, they, obviously when we came into the US market with DAZN already had a formidable credibility globally in key markets because of the rights that acquired. No one's ever heard of BLK Prime anywhere, really. So they have to come in and make a statement. And you do that by, having to overspend because it's a new platform and fighters would want to box on a traditional platform, not on a new platform. So it's going to take money to bring them and acquire their services. Obviously, they're going to lose a lot of money on the Crawford Abanesan fight, but that comes with launching in the market. So I don't mind, any new platform that wants to invest money for boxing, I think is great for boxing, great for the fighters, keeps everybody on their toes. Who knows if it will be a success? Time will tell, but good luck to them.
Yeah, I mean, does that give you, I know you've mentioned that Terrence is an amazing fighter, but maybe not have the draw, of a Gervonta Davis, but just as explosive. Do you think that maybe if this is a one-fight deal, would you be interested in doing business with Terrence Crawford? Maybe
no, it's because of the price now. The price that's been
the
paid.
Price gone up.
Of course, but the price is 3 times too much. So it's very difficult to when you run a business and you want to pay the right money. You want to pay market value, and unfortunately, or fortunately for Terrence, that's not market value. Good luck to him. He's made a lot of money and right place, right time. Who
do you think changed that in boxing? Or I would say, who messed that part of the sport up to where the market value isn't what it should be?
I think everybody's contributed to that. I think PBC started it. Then DAZN came along, was very aggressive financially. Then ESPN and Top Rank decided to spend more money. And everybody I think people just wanted to be competitive. People wanted to keep up. You have an option to sit back and let everybody do their brains or stay in there. And that's what people decided to do. When PBC started spending a load of money, Top Rank decided to stay in there. When DAZN came in, started spending money, Top Rank decided to stay in there. So did PBC. So, and it's good for the sport, good for boxing. It doesn't mean you always have to pay it. And at some point you have to level up and look at the market value and say, no, we won't be involved in this race. And we've done that lots of times recently.
All right, moving on to your buddy, Mr. Jake Paul. A lot of people felt like Anderson Silva was too experienced for him. He was able to beat him, in my opinion, which was his best performance to date against the best opponent today. What do you think of his progression skill-wise in the sport? And were you impressed with the fight?
I haven't seen the fight. I've only seen the knockdown and everything.
You're not a true fight fan.
Yeah, but I think that you have to give him credit. One thing that can't be denied is, look, yes, he's not fighting any real boxers yet, and yes, Anderson Silva was 48, but it's still an opponent for your 6th fight of a level with where most prospects are fighting at. So I think Jake is improving. I think he's working hard. He does a lot of things wrong in the ring, but he's not a boxer. He's not been around, he hasn't been boxing for years and years. So right. Anderson Silva, yes, not a boxer, 48, but still has spent time fighting. Was a decent stand-up fighter in MMA, but he was very old, but it's a win. And I think, now Jake really has to fight a boxer to get, I don't think he's going to get any, and he's never going to get the credit maybe he wants or he deserves until he actually fights a professional boxer.
Yeah.
And I believe he wants to do that. And I'm guessing he'll do that next.
Who would you match him up against if you was his promoter next?
Someone that I wouldn't lose against.
Speaking of Jake, we spoke to him last week and he mentioned that the fight with Taylor and Serrano is still there on his end. If it's, if you guys are still interested in that fight, I'm pretty sure you are. What's the next step? Is that the next fight?
Yeah, we'd love to make that fight. Obviously, Katie won at the weekend. we'd love to do that at Croke Park. And, you know, we'll be talking to those guys and hopefully we can get it made.
And I think that, you know, you mentioned it earlier, sometimes you get up for big fights, right? Because, you know, Katie, it wasn't Katie's best performance, but we all saw what she did it with Serrano. Even Amanda, her last fight wasn't her greatest performance, but look,
they need each other. You know, they need each other. They need to be fighting at the highest levels of the game, and that's the rematch.
Yeah. All right. Big fight. Bivol Ramirez. You know, people are already looking ahead past Ramirez. I think that's the most dangerous thing you can do if you're on the Bivol side. What's the plan for Dmitry Bivol if he gets past Ramirez next?
Well, I mean, firstly, I'm here now in Abu Dhabi. Like, the buzz for this fight and this whole fight card is unbelievable. This fight is one of the fights of the year. You know, before the Canelo fight, Bivol Zurdo was a 50-50 fight. Now, obviously, Bivol is the front runner. He's become a pound-for-pound star. But really, there's two options for Dmitry Bivol if he wins this fight. One is rematch Canelo Alvarez, and one is to look for the undisputed fight. So we'll see how long that can take. But, you know, this is a dangerous fight against Zurdo. It's like 44-0, tremendous fighter, former world champion. I think this is a tremendous matchup, and it's going to be very high level, a lot of anticipation, a lot of drama. Obviously, Saul and Eddie Reynoso will be watching the fight. I guess on one hand, they'll want Zurdo to win, being Mexican, but on the other hand, they'll want Bivol to win so they can get that rematch. So plenty on the line in Abu Dhabi this Saturday.
Now, is there a rematch clause in that contract?
No.
So if Bivol loses, that's it. It's over. Ramirez moves on.
You know, Zurdo's in a great position. Picks up the world title at light heavyweight.
Wow. Is there, now we all know that Beterbiev, I think he has some sort of surgery, so he's probably going to be out for a while. If it's too long, and is it definitely, I mean, has Canelo's team told you we 100% want Bivol at light heavyweight if he beats Ramirez?
Yeah, they definitely want to revenge that defeat. You know, obviously Canelo's just coming off surgery that went well. I think he'll be ready for Cinco de Mayo, so that would work well with the timings. But, you know, there's still a deal to be done on both sides. But, you know, certainly Sal and Eddie Reynoso have indicated to me that if Bivol is triumphant on Saturday, that's the fight they'd like next.
All right, I just recently watched some footage of my boy Addy talking to AJ, who, you know, has said that, look, you know, emotionally, he just wanted to get back in the ring, but he needs some time he needs a little break. But they're talking about Dillian White. Those are some of the names that they're throwing out there. Should he get past Franklin? I mean, is that the next plan for Anthony Joshua?
Possibly. I mean, Dillian's got a tough fight against Franklin November 26th. If he gets through, I think it all depends when AJ fights. If he waits till April, May, he may go straight into the Dillian White fight. If he sort of fights in February, he may have a fight first. But he's coming to Abu Dhabi this week. We're sitting down with him to plan the next step, and we're on the verge now of mapping that out.
Look, I heard Shelly Finkel say, Eddie, that AJ Wilder is still the biggest fight in the heavyweight division. Probably not bigger, obviously not bigger than AJ and Fury on your side of the pond. But in world boxing, that's a fight that people still want to see. Would it be possible for AJ not to fight Dillian White, not to fight anybody else, and go straight into a Deontay Wilder fight if the money?
Yeah,
if the deal is right?
I actually sent Deontay Wilder and Shelly Finkel an email back in August to talk about a deal, and he actually replied to me yesterday.
Oh wow! What did he say?
Took a few months, but you know, just to say, look, we're up for talking, you know. And I invited them out here to Abu Dhabi this week. They can't come, but you know, I see the Deontay Wilder fight probably happening the second fight for Anthony Joshua, in all honesty. But like, he's up for fighting anyway, and if he waits, then he may go straight into that fight. You know, it all depends when he returns. I think if he returns early in the year, I think he'll fight someone else first, and if not, he'll either go straight into the White or the Wilder fight. And you know, we also like Wilder against White if AJ has a fight first, you know. So, and I think Wilder's got a fight with Ruiz, so he's in a great position, and you know, we'll be talking to his team and trying to map out a deal.
And for those that don't know, like when you're putting a structure and a deal together with a Finkel and Heyman and stuff like that for a big fight like that, does it have to happen in person? Like you said, you invited them. This is not something a deal that is done over the phone, or have you done big deals? No, I don't really like sending emails and stuff like that. I like sitting down in a room with people. So that's why I invited them to Abu Dhabi to start those talks. They asked me to email an offer over, and we'll work on that, you know. But that's a must-make fight, in my opinion. I think that could be as big as AJ against Fury, honestly. I just feel like it's such a massive fight, but you know, we'll speak to AJ this week and see where we go. And I think it's a very interesting fight. Obviously, with Deontay's vulnerability. We all know that he can be hurt. We all know how big AJ can punch. And same thing for Wilder. So I think that fight is so intriguing. Look, Eddie, great show this weekend. Looking forward to Bivol Ramirez. Thanks for taking the time as always. We'll talk next week.
Cheers, guys. Take care.
Introducing the new DAZN Boxing Show podcast. No matter the time or the place, getting your boxing content has become easier than ever. Tune in as we give you exclusive insights, predictions, fight night recaps, and more alongside the biggest names in the game. All for free. Available globally every Thursday across all audio streaming platforms and with new episodes dropping weekly to give you the latest news. Just type in the DAZN Boxing Show podcast, listen in, and enjoy.